Brian Moran, founder of Government CIO. Welcome to Government CIO Magazine.
Hi, this is Olivia Ung with Government CIO Magazine. Today we'll be speaking with Mike Echols, the Director of Cyber Joint Program Management Office at DHS.
So, as the director of the JPMO, the Cyber Joint Program Management Office, I'm responsible for a classified information sharing program, an unclassified information sharing program, and the rollout of Executive Order 13691. The classified program is called ECS, Enhanced Cybersecurity, and essentially we have what we call CSPs, commercial service providers, and their customers can purchase a service from them, which allows their customers to see if there's a hit against classified indicators. This gives us a way to share classified information without giving it to the general public that doesn't have a clearance. Our unclassified program is called CISP. It's the Cyber Information Sharing Collaboration Program. We have CRADAs with companies, with information sharing analysis centers, and with other communities of interest who are trying to protect critical infrastructure. We, through those CRADAs, share bidirectional information, cyber threat indicators, information bulletins, and bulletins from the FBI. And we're able to keep people better informed about the threats. And they're able to keep us informed. Cybersecurity policy needs to dictate that there's breach reporting. Most companies, most entities have customers. Those customers' information is very important. It's important because cyber criminals put a value on that information, and they'll do what they need to do to steal that information. And breach reporting would allow people to understand when their systems and when their personal information has been stolen and potentially is being used so that they can protect themselves. So the greatest challenge we have in implementing any cyber policy or running any cyber program is education. There are lots of companies and entities that hold important data who don't understand the threat against them and don't truly understand how the information, intellectual property that's stolen is being used. They don't understand that this information actually can cripple someone's life. Cybersecurity is truly a team sport. DHS has had relationships with critical infrastructure owners and operators, major telecommunications companies, major information technology companies for many years. However, it is clear now that in order for us to defeat the threats coming from nation states, coming from just lone wolves who are trying to steal information and exploit weak systems, we have to work together. We have to plan and prepare for attacks, to be able to recognize those attacks and to be able to move as quickly as possible to thwart those attacks. We shouldn't plan to be hacked. We should plan to defend. However, if we are, we have to have a system in place where we're working together, whether it's the transportation sector, the financial services sector, the energy sector. We need to work together to make sure that our way of life isn't changed in a way that we don't want it changed. We have to play as a team because the world is interconnected. Cyber has no borders. With that being said, let's think about supply chains. Major corporations, some of them have thousands of companies that are part of their supply chain. The more interconnected we are, the more vulnerable those major entities are. In most cases, we depend on those major entities, whether they be a major retailer, whether they are an energy company that provides the power to a region. And so it is imperative that all individuals, companies, people with access are part of the solution. This is not a situation where someone can decide this does not affect me, because any cyber breach, any major attack on critical infrastructure affects all of us. DHS undertook a tour with the Travelers Institute to educate small and mid-sized businesses about the threats against them. In carrying out this tour and speaking to flourishing small and mid-sized businesses, we realized that many of them are not aware of the threats against them. They're not aware of the reputational loss that they could incur. They're not aware of the damage that could be done to their employees. And most importantly, they weren't aware of their opportunity to protect themselves through the use of free tools and through the use of good cyber hygiene. Many of those free tools can be found at www.us-cert.gov. We have programs that allow the participation in alerts. We have programs where businesses can download free cyber resilience tools. And we also have guidance and instruction for using the free NIST framework. If we go back to after 9/11, we were focused on infrastructure protection, and this was mainly physical. And the goal was to try to protect things. Pretty soon we realized that trying to protect everything and everybody was an impossibility. That as a nation, in that state, local, tribal, territorial, and federal, we had to come together with everyone doing their part. In 2012, the president issued Executive Order 13636, and it called for NIST to produce a cybersecurity framework. It also called for DHS to stand up a voluntary program that would help people better understand cybersecurity and to use the NIST framework. If we flash forward to 2015, President signed Executive Order 13691. That executive order called for private sector information sharing and the formation of information sharing and analysis organizations. What we hope to do with these executive orders and these actions is to enable businesses to protect themselves, small and mid-sized businesses and organizations. February the 13th, 2015, President Obama signed an executive order calling for the formation of ISAOs, Information Sharing Analysis Organizations. This is a shift from the current paradigm where we have ISACs, Information Sharing Analysis Centers. ISACs are mainly sector-based. There are 16 critical sectors, financial services, food and ag, transportation, and in those sectors, the private sector can come together to share information to protect the sector. This new executive order for ISAOs essentially allows communities of interest to come together. Examples would be law firms. Which sector would they fit into? Now a group of law firms can come together and start an ISAO. A group of HVAC companies can come together and start an ISAO. A group of small businesses. The two benefits here are that they can now share information with the government, and additionally, there are going to be some standards and best practices put in place by a standards organization to help them stand up. We want to ensure that there's no barrier to entry in getting people to share information with each other and with the government. And there's no requirement for these ISAOs to share information with the government. However, we hope that the value of our information encourages them to share with us. Initially, there was some confusion about what an ISAO standard would do. But again, these ISAOs will work on voluntary standards that are created by industry. Executive Order 13691 is very clear that we want to protect the privacy of people throughout the country, We want to put standards, voluntary standards, in place that encourage businesses, private sector, critical infrastructure entities to share information between themselves and with the government. We can win the cyber battle. It's going to take government working with private sector and with state and local to help our citizens understand the value of good cyber hygiene. To be clear, there are major corporations that are not using good cyber hygiene. The value of good cyber hygiene is that if we instituted and used the best practices that are already available to us, we would eliminate 80% of all cyber breaches.